Hi there, welcome to Dogecoin Wyckoff Technical Analysis session. Even though this week Dogecoin price has been fluctuating, the good thing is it's still within an uptrend. It's still staying above the uptrend support line. So let's quickly take a look at both the weekly and daily charts and see what the price actions are telling us. Here, we're looking at the weekly chart as usual because it's going to govern the bigger movements. So that's why we're starting over here. As of this moment, we are seeing Dogecoin's price being suppressed under this red key level of 25 cents. And however, it found support at this double support time point the current week sits at, because this is both the key level set by the upper bound of the long-term playground zone. So this white zone over here, that's exactly the ceiling of the zone, and also is where the support uptrend support line is. So the dual support provided quite strong the support lines provided support. I want to find another word, but yeah, let's make it simple, just support. And people have been buying in, pushing the price back to somewhere close to where the price closes the week before. And as of now, it seems this current range is an equilibrium where the bulls and the bears kind of find equal balance. So that's the current state. Previously, we also talked about 2 time points. So if the price continues to trade within this tiny triangle, meaning the bulls and bears they are at equal strength, this time point around the end of this month will be the first time point where a breakout would happen. So either the bulls win and push the price back to above the red key level, so between the orange key level of 30 cents and the red key level of 25 cents, or the bears successfully break this uptrend, and that's something big if that really happens. Not that's impossible, but this uptrend has been there since very early, back in mid-June. So it's getting to 4 months now, and I would say breaking to the upside is still of higher possibility, like I put in the 75% over there. Dogecoin still hasn't gone into a distribution yet as of this moment, compared to what happened in the other altcoins after the December 2024 distribution cycle. Some other altcoins has already entered their distribution phases. So when people say it's the altcoin season, it doesn't mean all the altcoins are in sync. Some are basically climbing earlier than the others. Maybe people are just pumping money into different altcoins at different times. So that's why we're seeing these sort of behaviors. So back to the chart here. The chance of it going down for another test still remains 25%. We just talked about this first time point. This second time point over here, near mid-November, is also something that I hope to see how it turns out, because this white dashed line is something that's extended from the buying climax. So that was the peak over there, and then we have this sign of strength peak back in September, the second week of September. So this line combined with this uptrend is getting to a point that the price has to break above this white dashed line in order to go even further, basically breaking this downward resistance that's set by this bigger wedge. So if that happens, that's especially to the upside, that may be a very good signal that the accumulation cycle may be really getting near its end and potentially officially enters the distribution cycle, going through all these key levels, reaching the new buying climax. For Dogecoin, I just want to quickly check. The 2024 exhibited a way better buying climax than what it happened back in the first quarter of 2024. For some altcoins, it's the other way round. So it's a bit tricky for the current situation because that may be tied to the political events that happened in the States. So whether this is going to sustain like the current peak, whether it's going to hit the same level of 47 cents, that's a big question mark. So hopefully it's going to hit that level because the accumulation, the sign of strengths, are already at a much higher level compared to what we had back in September 2024. So that's the hope, right? That if we have a higher accumulation, we should have a higher distribution. Maybe even higher than that, hitting all the way to the blue level above instead of the light blue key level of 47 cents. But that's the wishful thinking, because the 57 cents level is basically where the buying climax was back in 2021. And the long-term supporters of Dogecoin, if that happens, that would be a big celebration time for the Doge supporters. Enough big picture. While we're keeping these probability the same, and we also mentioned the time frames or the time points that breakout events would happen, let's go to the daily and see what's happening underneath the hood in a more frequent time frame. So like what we talked about, the prices still continue to stay above the uptrend line, so that's a good sign for the bulls, and currently it's trying to stay above this red key level. So it did a couple of times during the buying climax and also the upfresh period in the daily time frame. If the price really is going to break out, then eventually this will finish off with, I've got too many upfresh of the distribution tags over here. Basically it's going to head towards this side. But in the daily chart, we have to understand that at a certain point we have to decide whether this is still within the distribution cycle or is it an accumulation at a higher level. Because if you can visualize this during an uptrend, if we are on the way to a new buying climax in the weekly, so let's take this as an example. Even though these candles are all showing the closes above where they opened, but in the daily chart they are not like as simple, right? That was between November 24 all the way to early December. So during that period, November 2024, that's here, right? And then eventually to the beginning of December. You see, while the first week may be mostly white candles as well, it will enter a stage where we've got these sort of fluctuations. So if we are to take these stages in the Wyckoff distribution, at a certain point in time, much like what we have here, that was a mini accumulation that happened before the second buying climax, and then eventually upfresh happened. So there were two distribution cycles right up here, and this accumulation cycle at this level is just way higher than what we had back here. So when that happens, I'll probably have to adjust the tags because it may go well beyond the upwards of the distribution. So I just have to decide whether I call certain horizontal stages and accumulation when that happens. So here, what we're seeing, this may be a leg towards the upwards of the distribution, or it can also be an LPSY, because I also mentioned there is still a chance that the price would come back and test the support level. So if that happens, that may be the case for this cycle in the daily chart, because it's pretty tempting. Even though I say this is a sign of weakness, if we look at the chart itself, this can be a selling climax over here, and then an automatic rally, plus a sign of strength, and then eventually some more tests before this new cycle that we can call buying climax over here. So in the daily chart, it's so noisy and frequent that you can pretty much define it in a different way. So let me draw this so you know what I'm talking about. It's basically a separate scenario, not buying climax, selling climax, because the daily chart is basically riding on the waves in the weekly. So these stages can fit very well within this pattern as well, and then that can tell us why when these two, the bigger waveforms in the weekly and the smaller waveforms in the daily, can coexist. It all depends on how we tag these stages. So to make things make sense in the daily chart, instead of going upwards of the distribution and then the other upwards of the distribution, because they are just not in sync, if we want to tag the Wyckoff stages, and that would equate to the backup or last point of support period, this horizontal period over there, instead of a sign of weakness. And then this would be a, I don't want to choose two, this would be a buying climax instead of an upwards. If we count, these two are two separate distributions. Again, I'm making Wyckoff patterns in the daily chart just to show the community that it's still possible, but it's very tricky. Also because it's a community request, why not give it a try and see what happens, and let's explore together how do we chart those when we get a mega cycle for Dogecoin. When it happens, hopefully, then we'll know, because it's easier if it's exhibiting something like this. Basically, it's heading towards a peak where we can tag it as a buying climax, and then eventually we've got upwards and upwards of the distribution, and then we've got a high level accumulation that happened, and then another buying climax. So that's what I was talking about, and eventually an upwards of the distribution right over there. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, I know, looking at the charts and the candlesticks. If I turn it to this, yeah, it may be cleaner, but still very jagged lines compared to what we have in the weekly. A lot cleaner, and also that's where the whales, the big guys, the composite man, is working on bigger time frame, not the smaller ones. So that's all for Dogecoin. Thanks for joining me. See you.